gone. And I take that seriously because Tom Cotton is a serious fellow who understands the Senate conference, and he might be right. Now, I already see, because although I do not read Twitter much more carefully than I read the comments here, I do know some people are pointing to the thing I said last week when I reported that don't be surprised if by the weekend, Ron DeSantis had replaced Pete Hegseth. If you ask the people helping Pete Hegseth with his confirmation process, was there a good chance his nomination was dead last week and he was going to be replaced by Ron DeSantis? They would tell you yes. This is not something I made up, nor was my source unreliable or wrong. And I said I only had one source. My source was right. My source said, a very good source, said, don't be surprised if by the weekend, that's the track we're on, of last week into last weekend, that Hegseth out, DeSantis in. What has happened in the interim? First of all, the team working with him, I've praised them publicly before, they're excellent. If the guy gets confirmed, he needs to be like an NFL quarterback who wins a Super Bowl, and they're his offensive line, and he buys them all like a new car, really expensive watches, because they're doing a great job. And they understand how the confirmation process works. They basically got all these senators who were wavering publicly and some privately to say, all these sources are anonymous. Pete really deserves a chance. Give him a chance. Meet with him. Let's get to the hearing process. And I think they've succeeded. And the Ernst is Exhibit A. Now, couple things. As I've said before, there still could be revelations that are new that change the dynamics of the race. And I do believe there's some more investigative pieces in the works. Second, there's a possibility still that one of the senators who does not think Pete Hegseth is the right person for this job and who wants to save Donald Trump from a long drawn-out process, which will end closer to Inauguration Day with no nominee confirmed and Trump having to start over, it's possible that one of those senators will come out and say, I oppose Pete Hegseth's nomination, a Republican senator, on the theory that others then would feel comfortable saying the same thing publicly or privately, and the White House would withdraw the nomination and move more expeditiously towards finding a replacement. But those things may not happen, or they may not impact Trump's determination at this time to go ahead. So if you wanted to write a history of what's occurred, you wouldn't say Halpern was wrong, Hegseth was never in any trouble. You'd say last week this thing was on the political equivalent, to use the cliche, of life support. And through the efforts of Pete Hegseth and his team, he now has gotten the process back on track, where I believe he's more likely than not to get a hearing. And big change for me, you're hearing it out of my mouth for the very first time, I believe now he's a better than 50% chance to be confirmed, barring any new revelations. We'll see where it goes. But that is, again, if you're a student, a political scientist, or you're someone who someday faces a rocky path to Senate confirmation, you want to study the techniques used by the Hegseth team. We've talked about it a lot on this program and in the morning meeting. I will say, not all of them, but almost all of them, applicable to Democratic nominees as well. Very, very smart use of media, social media, alliances, and understanding the Senate process. These senators are as easy to understand as a 6-year-old child. And I say that with no disrespect meant to 6-year-old children. They understand, and the Hegseth team, how you play to the senators' interests, their vanities, their concerns, their support for the advise and consent process. They just did a bang-up job in getting the senators to not come out publicly against him and to be willing to listen to him. And in the case of Joni Ernst, practically running the nomination process.